When was the last time you thought about your death? Now, I don't mean your funeral or what kind of casket you might have, or even your estate plan or what to do with the house. I'm talking about the quality of your death, whenever that time may come. This is a hard thing to think about. It's even harder to talk about. A lot of times we think if I talk about death, that just means I'm wishing it upon myself, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Today's guest is an end-of-life doula, and her name is Jacqueline McMillan, and she is a dear friend of mine from back in the old days, and she is a certified end-of-life doula through the University of Vermont. Her doula work reflects a deep commitment to supporting individuals and their families through life's most significant transitions with compassion, presence, and dignity. Drawing on both her professional expertise in people-centered leadership and her training in end-of-life care, Jacqueline brings thoughtful perspective on caregiving, connection, grief, and the human experience. I hope you'll take a few minutes to listen to this episode and really start thinking about what does that look like for you, even if it's years away. And that's on this episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy. Jackie, thank you so much for being on my show today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So Jackie and I know each other from a long time ago. I have to have full transparency when we were running the streets of Minneapolis in our 20s.
Yes, all those years ago.
So we have a long history. And I'm really excited to have her on the show because, first of all, she is probably one of the smartest people I know, and she's definitely in the top 5. And secondly, she's also one of the most kind-hearted people I know, and which really puts you, when you said you were doing this particular I don't even want to call it a job, in this vocation and this calling that you have, I just felt it was just very suited.
Oh, thank you.
So tell us, okay, so we're talking about an end-of-life doula. And I think we've heard of it on the beginning of life, on birth.
Yes.
So now it's on the other end of our lives, and it's been getting a lot of press lately. Tell us what it is.
An end-of-life doula is a non-medical professional who supports people and their families who are at the end of their life. An end-of-life doula, their role is to help families navigate whatever there is. Practical, spiritual, if that's what they need, helping people through their wishes, through their fears, create a peaceful environment, and really just make people feel less alone. I kind of came through this because when my mom died, there was no suffering, it wasn't painful, nothing like that. But I really felt like there was a lot of unfamiliarity there. There was terminology that I didn't know. There was language and decisions and situations that, you only have 2 parents and you get really good at it after the first one, right? So
Yeah.
I really felt like you needed somebody who was not emotionally involved, somebody who didn't have a stake in the game, kind of, and just really could guide you through the process. And that's kind of really what led me to, I kept seeing this training course where I ultimately did my training. It kept coming up, the algorithm, got it right that time. It kept coming up as like, hey, check this out. And I bet it was 2 years of seeing that pretty constantly that I finally registered and then did the work.
Click the button.
Exactly.
The button. Yeah.
Oh, what does the syllabus look like? How long does this take?
All of those things. Well, and like I said, this has been getting a lot of press. It was on an episode of The Pit. So
yes, it was.
If anybody watches The Pit, and they say that show is very realistic. Doctors all say, ER docs all say it's very realistic. Do you think that was realistic of the role of an end-of-life doula that you saw?
It was realistic, and they portrayed the character very well, too.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and I think the misconception is that the end-of-life doula swoops in the 11th hour and pats everybody on the head and makes them feel good, but that's really not what their role is.
Yeah.
They help through the planning and through through making people feel more comfortable about what ultimately is going to happen, and that is really what that character did. And I think we talked about it. There's a Facebook group that I belong to that we talked about that character, and it was like that she did well. So
good. And good.
Congratulations to their producers. I think they portrayed it well.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was that first introduction, and now, like I told you a little bit ago, the Dallas Morning News a couple of days ago had an article about a woman who had chosen to have a doula as she, her cancer battle, was coming to an end. And I just thought that this is something we should talk about, and like what does it really mean? Is this not hospice? I know hospice is probably medical and this is non-medical. Right. Just all the things, what are the questions that you get about what you do, and when should you be called, and what are you, really what is your role? If you were to do here's what I do day by day when I'm working with a person.
It is so individualized. You really have to take a look at the family dynamic, and it includes helping advance conversations, emotional support, caregiver support. A lot of times people have been taking care of their parent for years, and they are exhausted. They are wrung out, and they need support. I think in the old days, prior to the terminology, it was thought of as just a bedside vigil, somebody to sit with mom or dad or grandpa or grandma while I could go take a shower or have a nap or have something to eat. But it is really expanded. And sometimes it's just listening to frustrations with medicine, with why didn't we catch this sooner? Or I'm frustrated at my brother, or, it could really be anything. And the best part, and also, kind of the oddest part about it, is it's so different with every person, every family. And also the timing is different. If you have 6 months, it's much different than if you have 2 weeks. The doula's job is very different for every person, and that's kind of exciting. I mean, it sounds morbid, but it is really, really kind of interesting work to do.
Well, and I say this for different reasons with people, but nobody's getting out of here alive, and that is the truth. And sadly, a lot of people they know. Not maybe the exact date and time, but they know their time is coming, right? With my father, he knew, and the last couple weeks of his life, he knew it was imminent, and so I think people know, and I think that was such a hard time, and I know it was really a hard time for my bonus mom. During that time, it was hard for us. It was hard for him. So I just think anything you can do to plan and kind of understand some of these things, even though nobody likes to talk about dying.
Absolutely.
that to be able to understand that maybe this is, I mean, how do we find somebody like you to think about considering maybe this is what I want? Maybe I do want to have somebody that is not my family, and how do you not insult the spouse, the kids, the, you know, like I want to bring Jackie in. And it not affect, you know, I don't even know how to, I don't even know how to ask the question.
if there's enough advanced planning, the person who is at the end of their life can do that.
Yeah.
I think if there's a consensus among the people who have been doing a lot of the work, and they're feeling the stress and the pain and the struggle and the exhaust, they can agree. It really, again, is so different. I've had people whose clergy has recommended and just said, you know, hey, it doesn't have to be a religious thing, but why don't you try this? Or I have friends whose hospice has also recommended, if they're doing hospice care at home or palliative care at home, a lot of times the hospice will recommend an end-of-life doula.
Yeah, because I just, you know, I don't even really know how to ask the question, you know, and because talking about it is so difficult, nobody talks about it, right?
Yes.
It's so hard to talk about death because we think that's going to bring it on or something, or hurry it up.
You're jinxing yourself somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
If I don't talk about it, I'll suddenly live forever.
Yeah, and sadly, that's really not, no one gets out alive. That's just the truth of the matter.
Downsizing doesn't have to feel like a loss. It can feel like freedom. I'm Robin McCoy, and every month I host a free webinar called The Gentle Transition, Downsizing with Peace, Purpose, and Dignity. Whether you're planning your own move or helping a parent through one, this webinar walks you through the process in a way that's calm, human, and full of hope. Registration is free. Just click the link in the show notes, and I'll see you there.
So, you know, when you are involved with a family and you are involved in it's just an assistant, you know,
exactly.
It's not, you know, and how does that relationship evolve? I guess, you know, here you come in and maybe the individual themselves has said, even the onset of an illness, as an example, when the time comes, I've already researched it, so everybody knows, and this is who I want. How does this kind of flow when you come in? And I know it's going to depend on the people, but just generally speaking.
The first meeting is all about listening and really getting an idea of what the person wants. Usually understanding what the family is facing, what the children are like, if there's any infighting, if there's any trouble. Also, it's kind of interesting to do, would you like to do a life review, or do you want to leave some sort of legacy work or something like that? And you know, you're not a therapist, you're not an attorney, but really just finding out, like, what kind of work do you want to do within this space before you pass on?
And describe some of that, what you mean by what legacy work. What does that look like?
Gosh, a life review can be really anything. Storytelling, you know, make sure that this gets passed on through to the next generation. Defining memories, career milestones, emotional reconciliation. You need to apologize to somebody. I did have one person who really wanted to tell someone off, and okay, all right.
Is it your job or responsibility to get that person to see if they will come and visit? So this
or
person can tell him off.
to write. Yeah, he's going to tell you off at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Yeah. Or just writing letters.
Okay. Yeah.
Or sending emails or whatever. Yeah. Gratitude, expressing forgiveness, peace. And also just questioning them. People love to talk about themselves in that space. Like, what accomplishments are you most proud of?
Yeah.
What was your career like when you started? What did you want to be when you were a kid? And how did that change throughout your life? And just asking those questions, because kids who are, even my parents, I never asked my dad or my mom, like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I really wish that I would have, and just knowing, those kinds of things, it's cool.
It is cool. My mom just celebrated her 90th birthday.
Oh, ring a bell, yeah.
A big bell, yeah. And I just sat there and I recorded her and just asked her just random questions. And like, when did you decide to come to Dallas? And all this. She goes, oh, my friend, I can't even remember her name. We got in that 57 Chevy and headed to Dallas. But now you picture your mom getting in this old Chevy and, like busting out of Star City, Arkansas and heading to Dallas, But I think that legacy piece is huge. We don't.
It really is. So
many stories are getting lost. They're dying with the people. And, my mom used to always just say something about her grandfather, so my great-grandpa, who homesteaded the land out in Star City and had this little house. And, my cousins and I still talk about that old clapboard house. But Mom always said, Grandpa always had a melon under the bed to cool. And that just sticks with me because it's this house in Star City, Arkansas in the 30s. There was no air conditioning.
Yeah.
The coolest place in the house was under the bed to cool off that watermelon.
Where it was dark.
Yes. So, I think when you say legacy, I think a lot of people think financial, right? I'm going to leave you the house. I'm going to leave you the diamonds. I'm going to leave you whatever it is.
Here are the pearls, right?
Yes, exactly. But a legacy is also, where did we all come from? What are the stories?
What do you? My biggest memory as a kid, you know my history a little bit. Grew up with grandparents who had a farm, and every year at Christmas we spent there, and they gave us these paper bags that were tied with kitchen twine, and what was in there: an apple, an orange, nuts, hard candy, some foil wrapped chocolate, and we looked for those every year. Like, that was the best gift ever. And it occurred to me not all that long ago that was the only thing they got for Christmas when they were kids. So they passed that on, and I was like, oh, there you go. And that was like, oh yeah, okay, it makes sense now. But they never said that out loud.
Right.
But they just, everybody had a bag with their name on it,
And those are the things. So now your kids can now know that story.
Exactly.
And maybe their kids will know that story.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of maybe what you do is giving them the space to tell these stories. Because maybe the kids or the family, the friends, don't think to ask those questions.
Right. And when you're in the middle of it, when you're the kid, when you're the person who's dealing with the ill parent or even sister, brother, or God forbid, child, you don't think of that. You think of getting to the next day. You think of the doctor appointment. You think of the here and now. It's really tough to think of anything other than the next step, and not being that emotionally involved. Every single person that I've ever dealt with it's an emotional event, but not having that history you can kind of uncover things that people wouldn't ordinarily think to ask if you know the person.
Well, and I would wonder, or I would think too, that the individual that you're working with, it probably gives them a little bit of a safe space to say or convey some thoughts that maybe they need to say but can't or don't want to say in front of certain family members. Maybe some regrets.
Yes.
That they have.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to say things to somebody that is not your spouse, your parent, your partner, your child, I used to say this about therapy. It's really good to talk to somebody who doesn't love you. Because now they have a different perspective about certain things. And I think that may be kind of where your role comes in, is being able to be somebody that doesn't love you, you don't love them, you care about each other, and you have, you're sharing this moment in time, but it's not your parent or your child or something, so it's different.
And even something so simple, I had someone tell me, a mother told me, I really like, I really like my daughter when she has her hair curly. I wish she would stop flattening her hair. And she would never tell her daughter that to her face, but it just was like, yeah, I get that,
But see, that
I
is
wish
exactly.
You would just stop that.
That's funny. That's funny. Because and it is. It's those things that they can just say. They're not filter. They don't have to filter.
Right.
So how do you maybe support adult children? So now let's say like you even said, giving somebody a chance to go take a shower or a nap or actually eat something besides a cheese sandwich.
And it can be just as simple as, hey, can you stay with mom for a couple of hours? Not even doing the life review or the legacy work, just sit with her. Watch the Wheel of Fortune. Or play cards, play gin rummy. I'm not a board game player, but if a client asks me to, okay. Or something, people bounce ideas off me. Do you think mom would like this? Do you think she'd like it if I made her potato salad recipe and brought it to her, or something like that? And they always want to, the funny thing with caregivers is they just want to do more caregiving, even when they're away from the person that they're providing care for. And, you're taking a break here. Don't forget about the potato salad. Just go take a shower, take a break, watch Wheel of Fortune at home and be done.
Fun. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really what you run into a lot of, is people who continue the caregiving and the thoughts about the caregiving while they're away from the person.
Because you never stop.
Never ever.
And regardless of what level you are the caregiver, whether you are actually the hands-on caregiver or they have other support, but you are the adult child of your mother, and this is, it's in your head all the time. And so to be home and say, oh, I have these potatoes here, I should make mom's favorite potato salad.
Send some here.
It's a natural course of things, and it's hard, like you said, to stop thinking about that and taking care of themselves.
Exactly.
Because I would imagine you could probably walk in to a home and realize how far gone the caregivers are. Right? Probably pretty quick when you see how far, like, at the end of their rope.
Yes.
Caregiving's hard, y'all. Caregiving is hard, and it is one of the most unappreciated, I don't want to say unappreciated, but
it's overlooked.
I don't think people, it's
really
overlooked.
Is. And you think about, I think there's more attention given to people who have young children. If you have a couple of kids who are pretty close in age, and that is an arduous task. But you've got a parent who needs care, needs driving to the doctor, needs go pick up a prescription, all of that, it is like it's just one more part-time job, basically.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, just a few generations ago, families were a lot bigger. They lived a lot closer together.
Closer.
So you had a lot more support in your very close area. So you didn't have the one daughter who was providing 100% of the support, or the granddaughter who just happens to be going to college in the town where grandpa and grandma live, and now she's, the caregiver for both of them. So I think this is a fairly new
I think so too.
kind of thing. And people don't realize that because you're so immersed in it. You haven't been, you weren't 45, 50, 60 years old 100 years ago, so you don't know. But
that's true.
But our parents had much bigger families, and they lived closer together, and it was a much different world and
Very
less
different
transient. My husband is going through this with his sister is the only one left in where they grew up. Both of the brothers are literally across the world. And there she is taking care of mom.
We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low-income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly in underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit wa1h.org. That's wa1h.org.
So, yeah, it's different, and I feel
and
bad
I will
for
say,
her.
It falls to the oldest daughter 90% of the time.
Always.
I'm giving 10% grace, but I really think it's 100%.
Yep.
That it falls to the oldest daughter regardless. Whether she's across the world and closest or she's even down the street. It's and so these oldest daughters go into project management care mode,
Yep.
and they start taking care of stuff, and because that's what they do.
Yes.
And so I mean your role then, I think sometimes people think it is only for the individual who is coming to the end of their life, but your role is just kind of a support for everybody. You're just kind of, you come in and take the edge off everything.
Mm-hmm. You're making the phone calls. You're bringing the family together when it needs to be. You're probably planning holidays around whatever your parents' ability is. It is tough, and I would say, I don't know, I'd hate to give it a number, but at least half of what a doula does is taking care of the caregivers, or at least giving them some sort of relief.
Yeah, I would imagine, because it comes back to being the one person who isn't intimately involved with the situation.
Yeah.
That you can still go home and go do what you do with your family and come back, versus they go home and they're still in it.
Right.
They're still in it. Now, you talked about also kind of working with and maybe explaining, you talked about language and, doctors and hospice workers come in or out, and just dealing with the medical side of things is, again, when my dad was going through, he passed in 2022 of pancreatic cancer. And there was a time several months before he passed, but we were in the hospital, and I was there, Joyce was there, and he was there. And he just didn't remember that the PA that came in had said, it's not always about quantity of your, or how did he put it? Not so much of a quality of life, but what do you want your quality of death to look like? And he didn't remember her saying that. And during one of our conversations later, I asked him about that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where possibly you come in some of that, is what is this quality of death that we want? Where do you want to die? Exactly. I asked my dad that.
Ask basically anyone. I mean, anyone who's relatively well even. Do you want to die in the hospital hooked up to tubes and monitors and all of that? Chances are you don't. And so that's where the hospice comes in, and the pain management and the medical care, and you know, the end of life doula just can assist with that in a non-medical way. Well,
I would imagine you can say to the caregiver too, I think we should call hospice in right now. I know it's the middle of the night and we're not at 24-hour care yet, you know, or whatever. Yeah. You see things differently.
Yes.
Than the person that's in it.
And also a lot of times you're explaining to the family what the phases of death look like, how their eating patterns and sleeping patterns will change, what their breathing will change to. Many times someone who is on their way will often talk about what their childhood was like in a very sort of here and now way. We'll talk about their parents still being around, or will talk to their parents or to a loved one who has departed. And that's very common, and a lot of times the family gets a little jarred with that. And you have to understand that part of that is the death process, and part of that is also them coming to terms with what's happening next.
Yeah, and that's got to be part of it too. Is, you know, I would imagine when you get to that place, you start becoming very acutely aware of what is happening, and where. Absolutely. I mean, even again, I refer to my dad because this is the most thing that was closest to me. And again, he knew what was happening, and he told me things about that. And we talked about all these things prior to him passing, and always grateful for that. And, you know, and in those last days, he knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And I love hospice. I think hospice people are angels that walk among us.
I was just going to say saints on the earth, yes.
You know, how they do what they do is amazing. And I just think you are an extension of that.
Oh, thank you.
Again, I think there's a thing of non-medical that is important in that place, right? Because you've got all doctors running around, you've got them coming, you know, your person is in pain, they come and they bring more medicine, and out they go, and it just is this whole, it's hard for everything. And so I think the role you play is that calming for everybody.
Well, and it's funny because I would have loved to have been in the medical field, but everything is just too gross. And this sort of is a good kind of in between.
You could have the caring of the nurse or the doctor, but you don't have to give the shots or pull the blood or deal with the catheters. That's fair enough, man. We all know our lane, man. We got to stick to our lane. Well, if there's something that maybe we didn't touch on or talk about that you really want to get across to people to understand why you might be called upon, why they might want to find someone like you to help them or their family through this whole process.
I would say if there is any indication or any inclination that maybe we should interview or talk to a doula, definitely do that, and kind of get an idea or a feel for what that person has to say. if you have someone or a few people in your family who are afraid to talk about death. If there's someone who needs more support or who is just very fearful of your loved one dying for whatever reason. Really, just bring the doula in and just have a chat. It can't hurt. And probably another question I get really often is how do I know that that person is right for me? Someone is advertised or is advertising or recommended. What do I do? It is just like you're interviewing, a babysitter for your kids or someone to take care of your dog. I mean, you get a feel for it. But you are the person who sets the agenda, and the person who is you're caring for is the person who sets the agenda. Any doula who comes in and has a script or has a sort of this is the way we're going to do it, that's really not who you want to go with. Someone who wants to force any sort of spirituality on you and you're not particularly spiritual, or if you are spiritual and they are refusing that again, that's an indication that this isn't the right person for you. So you really, it's a total personality kind of thing. And you just have to get a feel for it. That's. And
don't be afraid to ask all the hard questions. Oh,
exactly. There is nothing embarrassing. There is nothing that you're being too invasive about. Nothing like that.
Yes. I think this is something that is, like I said, it's getting so much more press in the media and on TV and all of that I think there's probably people out there that want to ask about it, want to understand it, but don't necessarily know how to go about that. Right. And so I'm sure that is there a national organization or something that they can find those resources?
There are several doula certification organizations. Definitely look those up. Also, if you can get recommendations from hospice organizations, that's also a good place to start.
Okay.
Education is kind of, there are online doula educations, but really look for a brick and mortar educated person. I was educated at the University of Vermont, and they are fantastic, but there are others out there as well. But really, just it's all about how you feel with them and what they can do for you and for your loved one.
It's all about you, people.
Absolutely.
That's really what it comes down to. It is all about you, and this is someone that you are hiring to bring into your home to care for your family, to care for your loved one. So it is all about you, and it's okay.
This is the time to be selfish.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for caregivers very often to look at it like that.
Yeah, because that's the mode they're in, right? And they're just taking care of things. And I would say too that if you get somebody in and they stop being the right fit, it's okay to say, this is no longer working out, and we're going to find somebody else, or we're going a different direction.
Right. And maybe the person was the right fit to do the legacy project, or to ask the questions, and that part of that is done, and maybe someone else needs to be brought in for phase 2.
Yeah. So, well, you've taught me a few things.
Well, thank you.
You gave me something to think about.
Well, thanks.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Some topics are not the most fun, and they're difficult, but that doesn't make them any less important. So I hope you'll do some education for yourself, study up, do some research, and see if maybe a doula might be something you want to look at in your future for yourself or one of your loved ones. Anyway, we'll see you next time on another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Bye.
Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I know you have plenty of choices for your ears, and I'm honored you chose Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. If today's episode sparked a question, a story, or even a strong opinion, I want to hear it. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. You can even email me directly at robin@relaxigotthis.com. And yes, I actually read them, and I actually reply. And if you're looking for more tools, guides, and resources to help you keep embracing life after 60, head over to relaxigotthis.com/resources. It's all there waiting for you when you need it. Until next time, take a deep breath and remember, you've got this. And if you ever feel like you don't, well, that's why I'm here. Relax. I got this.